When I was a young guitarist, just learning the ins and outs of the instrument and even learning how to use gear, every time I plugged into any Fender style amp, whether it be at a music store or an amp that maybe a friend of mine had, I was never impressed. I never liked that, shall we say, Fender tone. Shows how little I knew back then. As I grew as a player and as I kind of educated myself a little bit more about gear, fine-tuned my ears and my playing ability, I really grew to love some of those classic Fender tones. I really love working with the Fender 2 collection from Amplitube. The Amplitube 5 and Fender 2 collection are just a fabulous pair, and there's some really great sounding amps. Now, I have done some videos on some Fender tones before, but this time I'm going to use an amp that I haven't done any videos on before, and that's the 57 Custom Twin. Really killer amp model. I really enjoy using this. So we're going to dial in a tone today that I'm going to have a free preset up on my website at the link below. You can go download that at your leisure, tweak it however you want, or just use it as it is. It's going to be a very bare bone preset. There's not going to be any extra effects or anything. But at the same time, I do have my 57 Custom Twin Ultimate Preset Pack available at another link below in the description. And that's going to be a much more full-featured preset pack that's going to have 6 presets in it. Some utilizing the X-Gear virtual pedals, 3 presets to be exact, and 3 that are utilizing just effects that are going to be in Amplitube 5 and Amplitube 5 Max. So there's a little bit something for everybody in there. And later in the video, I'm going to show you a demo video of a little piece of music I composed with this and for this particular set of presets so that you can hear how they sound in the mix. So those will all be at the link below. But without further ado, let's dive over to Amplitube 5 and see if we can't get this 57 Custom Twin sounding killer. All right, so here we are over in Amplitube 5. I really have to say I love the graphics that come up when we're using anything from the Fender 2 collection in Amplitube. So here we have the 57 Custom Twin amp. We have presence, bass, treble. We have a bright and a normal channel, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Now, moving on from that, I'm using just the standard cabinet that comes up with this. Since this is a combo amp, I figure it would be the way to go. This is going to have the custom Fender speakers in it, as shown here. But as always, going to the end of my chain, anybody who watches any of my videos knows that I really like to put in both an LA2A, or in this case called the White 2A, an EQ81, a Neve style EQ, and this opto compressor at the end that I find just helps to shape the sound. Even if I'm just using it very, very subtly, I still really like what it does to the sound. So what I've done here is I've set this up so that the compressor is just kissing the sound, never more than a couple dB of gain reduction, usually even less than that, sometimes half a dB, 1 dB, really depending on how hard we're playing. If we're playing very softly, it may not even trigger, but I still find that this does something to the tone and just gives it a little something that I really like. As far as the EQ settings go on this, if you'll notice, I go down here to a low shelf at 100 Hertz. I boost that 2.5 dB, give it some nice beef and fatness to the sound. At 390 Hertz, I take a bell curve and I take that down by -2 dB. And that's it. That's all I do with this. But I also do actually have a 100 Hertz low cut and a 12 kilohertz high cut. So we'll leave that alone. I'm gonna shut that off for now so that we can come and examine what I did on the amp. On the amp itself, I have presence set at 3, bass up at 9.3, treble at 6, the bright volume at 4.8. Now that's only going to matter if we have bright selected. As you see, if I switch between bright and normal, it switches the input, but I did like the bright setting. The volume for the normal channel is set to 6.5, but it doesn't matter because it's not really going to do anything. But let's do this. Let's bring this down also to the 4.8 setting, just so we can compare what the sound of the different channels is like once we start listening to it. So that's my settings for the amp. That's going to give us a nice clean sound, but we can push this, and I'll give you an example of it later in the video where we can actually get this to break up nicely and give us a nice little crunch sound. Over to the microphones I use, and really ultimately this is going to be the most important part of the tone. You know, we can tweak these all day long, and it's going to obviously have an effect, but it can all be overshadowed by mics we choose and the placement of those mics as well. So what have I chosen? As a lot of viewers of my channel know, I love the Ribbon 121, and it's no exception here. So I have that microphone in combination with the Condenser 87. The R121 is angled at 45 degrees. And on the room mics, you'll notice I have the Condenser 87s as well. And I'm using a fair bit of room mic on this just because there's no other ambience on this. There's no reverb of any sort. So that just gives it a bit of a room sound so it doesn't sound so dry and direct. How about mic placement? Well, here on the Ribbon 121, if we take a look, I have it slightly off axis, but pretty much straight on the grill. And keep in mind, I have that angle at the 45-degree angle. So it's kind of still kind of facing right into the cone, just off axis a little bit. And then for the Condenser 87, I have it pretty much directly on axis and pulled back ever so slightly, almost not even enough to say that we do. So those are the settings for that. Now let's mute the room mic and let's mute the condenser mic. And this is just the sound of the R121 Ribbon mic. Now keep in mind, I have my mastering section off here, and we're just gonna listen to how the different mics blend in on the sound on those amp settings and with this speaker. So this is the sound of just the R121. That's on the neck pickup on my Vigier Expert Strat. If I go to the bridge pickup, now some people might say that's kind of tubby and muddy. I'll go back to the neck pickup, and it kind of is. So let's mute that, and we're gonna bring in just the Condenser 87 and see what this sounds like. Down to the bridge pickup. As you can hear, that has a much thinner sound, and when blended in with the R121, it sounds very nice. So let's bring both of those in, and the balance I have between them, 0 dB on the R121, minus 6.7 dB on the Condenser 87. That's what these two mics sound like together. That's on the bridge pickup, neck pickup. So you can see how those really come together nicely and balance the tone out. Now let's solo the room mic. Very subtle, but just to add a little bit of life to the sound. So when we bring that in with all of the mics, we have this on the neck pickup. All right, so very nice sound to it. Now, if we come over and we switch from the bright channel to the normal channel, let's see what that does. So here's the normal channel. A little more clarity and some almost bell-like sounds to it. So I really like the bright for the clean sound. And I believe in the 57 Custom Twin Ultimate preset, I do go to the normal channel for lead just to give it a creamier sound. So really nice that we have that ability to switch between the two of them. So we'll keep it there on bright right now. But very important part is this little mastering section at the end. So let's turn that on, but I'm going to turn the EQ off. Let's see how much compression we're getting before we turn the EQ back on. So you'll notice we're just kissing it, right? We're getting maybe a dB, 2 dB if I hit really hard. So now this EQ, you'll notice I find As with a lot of old Fender amps, you get this kind of tubby bottom that's very nice. It's round sounding, but sometimes can be a little too much in a mix. So this EQ was designed to kind of control some of that. So if I put that in, and that's on the neck pickup. If we go to the bridge pickup, really doesn't affect the compressor any more than with it off. So again, if I go back to the neck pickup, let's listen to it without any of this little mastering section, the LA2A and the EQ81 on at all. Little bit of a tubby bottom, little bit of mud in there. Turn it on. And that is the final tone. All right, so what did you guys think of that? I really love the way that turned out. It's got some beautiful chime to it. It sits beautifully in the mix. Speaking of which, let's take a listen to the mix I did with the piece of music that I composed with this particular preset. This is going to include all of the presets from my 57 Custom Twin Ultimate preset package, which is available at the link below at my website. And it also includes this free preset that is also available at a different link below, mixed in with those, just so you can kind of hear what the general sound of this preset is going to be like when combined into a mix, drums, bass, and some other guitars. So let's take a listen to that. So there you have it. What did you think? I really liked the way it came out. The lead tone in that was a little bit creamier. Like I mentioned, I used the normal channel on the amp, which really contrasted nicely with the kind of chimier cleans I got in this video and with the clean preset. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that. Please go grab the free presets or the full 57 Custom Twin Ultimate preset pack from my website at the links below. I hope you enjoy them. Feel free to tweak them and use them however you like. Add your effects to them how you see fit and what works for your particular situation. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some enjoyment or use out of watching it. And also please subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.